Good morning. I apologize for the delayed start. That was me talking, so I apologize for that. First on the agenda, I'd like to call the meeting to order of the Technical Committee meeting dated August 6th. We'd like to go around the room and do introductions. I'll start up here at the staff table. Anna Gremling with IMPO.
Sean Northup with the IMPO.
Jennifer Krell, MPO.
Annie Dixon, MPO.
Paul Jackson, MPO.
Josie Martin, MPO. Danielle Fry, MPO. Cynthia Miller, MPO.
Andy Swenson, MPO. Brian Mulvey, MPO. Mark Lorber, MS Mills. Pete Mills, how they vote.
Alec Ruppke, Noblesville.
Brad Davis, Hamilton County.
John Ayers, Hendricks County.
Sean Pass, Town of Bradford. Scott Singleton, Town of Plainfield. Matt Gilroy, City of Prairie. Brad P, City of Garland. Mark St. John, City of Indianapolis. Paul Newman, City of Greenwood. Brad Merriweather, City of East Grove.
Renee Raffles, City of Lawrence.
Frank Crum, Town of Wardsville. Daniel Constant, Nelson County. Stephen, Town of Whitedale. John Dale, City of Westfield.
That's M. Mackey, City of Fishers.
Nick Parr, Boone County.
George Lewis, Town of Zionsville.
Mark Douglas, Crossroad. Everybody. Jason Cook, Andrew Wolf, Crossroad.
Kate Sale, PMCS. Julian Stubber, PS Engineering.
Beverly, taking that. Tony Lucac, Pittsburgh.
Okay. Do you want to show it?
Tony.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. I did just want to make one announcement. Jennifer Kay is our new office manager. For those of you who may have been aware, Anita Bjork from the IMPO, our previous office manager for 18 years, has retired. And Jen Kay is taking over those duties. Probably not a regular face that you'll see at tech and policy meetings, but you will definitely be getting emails from her, probably from the info account. I did want to highlight one thing in the packet with the new, I'm just going to forget the Indiana code, be more transparent in streaming of meetings, right? With the agenda, we're required to put the committee members. Please take a minute, both on tech and policy, if you receive those packets, and double check your members that are listed and make sure they are up to date and accurate. If any changes need to be made, we do need those from your highest elected official. So for those cases, like town council president or mayor or the president of your commission. I know counties typically do their appointing at the first meeting of the year, but oftentimes, sometimes we'll have staff changes on the proxy level, and we always don't know that. So feel free to review that list, Jen. If you want to see a copy of it, Jen has a printed copy of it moving forward. Item number 2, meeting minutes dated April 5th. That seems like a long time ago. Has everybody had the opportunity to review those meeting minutes? Any corrections or changes? If not, this is an item for approval. So moved. Renee from Lawrence.
Second, John Ayers.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, likewise. Item number 3 is the Metropolitan Plan Amendment number 2. Everyone, give me just 1 second to figure out how to get this over here.
My name is Higginbotham. I'm a planner for the planning section of the MPO. We do have one amendment to our MTP, our Metropolitan Transportation Plan. This will be Amendment 2 to the Metropolitan Transportation Plan. It is in your packet. We did have, we are in right now a public comment period August 4th through 18th for this amendment. We will let you know if we get any comments on that at our next meeting. at the policy meeting, and we will be having the public hearing for approval of that amendment on August 20th at the policy meeting. This amendment includes several changes. There are 6 projects that are updating their project costs. So that's the only change to the first 6 projects. 2 of them are Hancock County projects, and 4 of them are NDOT projects, updating the cost. And then there are 3 additional projects. One is moving. It's an NDOT project, moving an I-70 widening from time period 2 to the illustrative list. They're not doing that in the foreseeable future. And then there is 2 new projects. One is a bridge at Quaker Boulevard. This is a new grade separation. And one is I-70 interchange at County Road 200 West in Hancock County. So those are 2 new projects being added to the MTP so that NDOT can proceed forward with those. These are the changes that we're proposing to amend the MTP. If you have any questions, please let me know. Happy to try to answer those.
Any questions for Jen? Okay, this is an item for approval. Motion by Rovide, second. Great. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, likewise. Motion carries. Cool. So we have a number of updates for the Transportation Improvement Program. So
Hello, I have a surprisingly long presentation for all of you. I know you're just as excited about that as I am. So for these tip amendments, these are going to be tip amendments to the 26 to 29 tip. So the 24 to 27 tip is the current tip. That is still what we're using as the current tip. The 26 tip is not federally approved yet, but NDOT is operating the 24 tip. We're not going to amend the 24 tip. So the amendments we're talking about today are for the 26 to 29. There are 68 amendments. There's going to be 7 local amendments. Of those, about 8 of them are exempt amendments or non-exempt amendments. Non-exempt means that they require additional quality approval. That's why we had to just amend the TP. That means they also require additional approvals and time on our end. Usually we will separate the non-exempt and exempt amendments on separate resolutions. We didn't do that this time because there's no pressing time issues, but we want to highlight that these are the bigger projects that are considered not exempt for air quality. So you can look at this and see what those major projects are. One of the amendments does affect MPO managed funds. It is just a change in scope to the project. It is not a cost increase request. But to give you a bit of background on how this project has continued through and the scope changes being requested. This was originally approved by Policy Committee for funding in 2019 for the couple projects that happened in 2018. It's 160th and Allisonville and Fishers. The original application was for a signalized intersection, some median changes and some lighting changes. As that project proceeded, it eventually became a roundabout project. And we also switched it from federal funds to FFP funds. So if you look at the tip right now, it is a roundabout project with FFP funds. The scope change request today is to turn it back into a signalized intersection. Again, not a request for additional funding, just a request to change the scope to make it into a signalized intersection again. Also some lighting changes and median changes. So pretty similar to the original application, but a big enough scope change that we wanted to bring it to you all so you can review the amendment request. Any questions on that or the tip amendment?
the Cliff Notes version, the new step is not approved, but these amendments are to the new step for when it is approved by FHWA. Oftentimes we run parallel and we still amend the old tip and the new tip. NDOT is not doing anything with the old tip step. So we are just proceeding forward as if within weeks, maybe before policy, we're hoping FHWA approves the new tip step. So those were all the years he was throwing around. And then for transparency purposes, just the 116th and
Okay, corporate projects is coming up. It's very soon. So this is the infrastructure corporate projects. It's going to open 10/6/25 and close 11/28/25. This is for projects for FAB projects. It'll be 2029 for letting. For federal projects, it'll be 2031. Federal projects is going to be mostly TA funds, so it's mostly trail projects. So there'll be different required lettings based on which funding source you're applying for. The packet is not quite available yet. We're still waiting on some numbers, mostly the numbers that actually matter to you, like inflation and how much money we have available. We should have that soon. We're hoping we have it soon. And so we think that we will publish the packet at the end of this month. So we'll send you all an email with the full application packet when we have it available. We will have a training this year. This is the first time we're going to offer this, or the first time since I've been here, on MyTip and applying for the corporate projects. I know a lot of you told me last year with frustrations with MyTip. So we're hoping that we can smooth that out this time. We'll have a little training. There'll be information about that in the packet when it's available. A couple of changes that are relevant to this corporate projects. One, the CMAQ calculators changed a little bit. Andy is here if you have questions about that. But there's going to be information in your packet, and we're going to have a training on that as well. That training is just open to technical and policy members, but we will record it and we will publish it out so that you can view the recording. That's going to go over the changes to the CMAQ calculations. Additionally, there's a change to the allocation goals. This is going to be the first corporate projects under this allocation goals. If you don't know what these are, when we approved the NTP like a year and a half ago, there are goals within that NTP about how much funding we should be putting to different types of projects. This is going to be the first year that we have intersection projects as separate than roadway projects. As you can see, there are the goals. Intersection projects are going to be the largest, then roadway, then bridge. These are just goals that we try to align with for funding when you guys are applying and we're making a recommendation. So this will be the first time that intersections are their own. So something to keep in mind as a change for this fall.
Cool.
Yes.
Do you mind, because we did amendments like 4 minutes ago?
Sure.
Can I just call the vote and get the amendments
Sure.
before you go through all of the other announcements? Sorry, there wasn't, yes.
Can I ask a question real quick on the Allisonville intersection project? If I'm understanding right, it was originally going to be a standard intersection, then a roundabout. Now they're shifting back to the intersection.
To an intersection,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah,
Okay, you're right.
going back to the original. And because it was awarded under federal and now it's exchanged, and we just want for transparency purposes to bring it before you today, make sure everybody understood what was happening with the project.
Yeah.
Yes,
Just bring it forward.
yes. Yeah, can you just make sure you articulate? Yeah, so can you go back to all the NDOT amendments as well? I don't know that we have anybody from NDOT in the room to help answer questions. Any questions regarding any of the TIP amendments? This is an item for approval.
Don't move.
Is that Renee? Okay, I have a motion by John Ayers, a second by Renee. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, likewise.
Okay.
Who was that? Thank you.
Okay, so update or some changes that are also relevant to our corporate projects relating to ADA, PROAG, and Title VI. I sent, I think, everyone on tech and policy an email from NDOT, I think on Monday, about some changes for ADA and Title VI. So I wanted to summarize these for you as well. But on October 1st of each year, you will need to submit your Title VI and ADA plans to NDOT. The ADA plan needs to be readopted by your city council or your county council every 3 years, and the Title VI plan needs to be updated and submitted every single year. If you do fail to do this, they have told us that they will not assign you a DES number. Not having a DES number is going to be a significant problem for your project. So we want to make sure that every year you're getting NDOT's information by October 1st. We're also going to require this as part of the call for projects. So when we have to deal with Title VI, there is a self-recipient requirement. Basically, we have to make sure that you're also compliant. That's why NDOT's also requiring this. So when you submit for the call for projects for the NPO or anything NDOT related, you need to upload your Title VI and ADA information. This is also an email from NDOT, and if you need help finding it, I can send it to you. Stuff, just so you are aware of what needs to be in a Title VI plan. You need a Title VI coordinator, a Title VI plan, a language access plan, monitoring of subrecipients, which is why we're requiring it, and a few other requirements. And for ADA, you're going to need a ADA coordinator if you have more than 50 employees, a grievance procedure, self-evaluation, transition plan, and accessible programs. There's some other things required as well, but those are the main things. Also wanted to give you a bit of an overview of what's in PROAG. So this is the Public Right-of-Way Accessibility Guidelines. It was adopted by the U.S. Access Board in 2023. DOT issued a ruling on it relating to transit stops in 2024. And then now it's just sort of a waiting period of pending more requirements either from DOJ or DOT. It has a bunch of requirements that go beyond what's in ADA. So things like sidewalks have to be wider, curb ramps, stuff like that. There are some of the bigger changes compared to ADA that are more relevant to you all. Multi-lane roundabouts would need to have medians, some signalization. There's requirements relating to on-street parking being accessible and having a certain number of accessible paths. Shared use paths would have to be 8 feet and have signals at crossing. It's just a lot of regulations that are going to expand on what's in ADA, assuming they're adopted by DOJ or DOT. To help you guys comply with all of this, we have 2 trainings. One is through NDOT, the Title VI and federal training is going to go beyond just Title VI. It's a full 8-hour full day training. Here's a QR code. I will pause so you can all get out your phones and sign up. But it's going to go beyond just Title VI into different federal compliance for contracts, construction, whatever. When you go to the link for the Title VI NDOT training, it is going to tell you that the meeting is full. I am reaching out to them, trying to get them to update that. I don't think it's full, so just go ahead and plan on attending. The ADA program training, that is through the NPO. So we have a consultant coming in the beginning of September. They're going to give an 1.5-hour long online training. You can do it from the comfort of your own office. That is open now. That is open to, well, actually both of these are open to everyone. So tech policy members, other people, either staff, consultants, anybody, everyone is welcome to come to that training. Any questions on the call for projects or these requirements?
We have sent all of this out via email. I think it'll be good for us, Gen K, to send all of these trainings out again. So we have the CMAC tool training on August 19th at 9 o'clock. That's virtual. Our PROAG training on September 9th, that is virtual. And then the NDOT training regarding Title VI, is in person. And so I think we will send that all out again, just about all the training opportunities. I feel like it kind of has probably come out a little piecemealed in our newsletter and some other ways, but we will send that out again, just because I think they're all pretty important trainings.
Has NDOT talked any about when they think they'll be able to actually review these documents and tell us if they believe that they're compliant?
Yes, I think originally they had a deadline. This was a requirement last year as well that wasn't really followed through with. They have a 3-month deadline to review them, so they should be able to tell if they're compliant or not by then.
If they don't review them within the 3-month deadline, what happens?
I have no idea.
Okay.
We submitted ours a month and a half ago, and I just got an email today saying our DES number is now live and we can start working on it.
Okay, great.
It's been a couple of months. It took several months to get to that point, but there's still no response from their ADA compliance folks.
Okay, thanks.
They'll get it in early and assume it'll take a while.
Yeah, I know we've already reached out to their contact that you guys sent us an email just to give them what we've already got and make sure that we're understanding the annual update requirement.
Yeah. No.
Is there some little requirement for PROAG or is it just FYI?
PROAG is more of an FYI. There is no requirement now. Okay, next, there's no more questions. So we have one more agenda item, which I also get to present on.
So are we moving on to agenda item number 5, the local planning call for projects? Yeah.
Okay, local planning grants. So we just a few months ago closed our cycle for the local planning grant. We received 6 total applications. Here are the 5 that are being submitted for funding. 2 of those applications came from Speedway. So the way that the program works is you can submit as many applications as you want, but we're only going to select one from your LPA unless we have extra funding. So only one of the Speedway applications was recommended. But here are the 5 projects that are being recommended. I won't read them to you because they are on the screen and in your packet. But here is a map of where they're located. One from Speedway, one from Indianapolis, one from McCordsville, one for Whitestone, and one for Hamilton County. Just some background on this project. So the IMPO contribution is up to $100,000, 80-20 MPO match, local match, typical of most of our stuff. We thought that a 125 project match would maximize the IMPO's contribution. It turns out that a lot of the applications did not fully want the maximized match. So the total asked for all these is about 475 worth of planning projects on the MPO's end. Joint applications were acceptable, we didn't get any. The way that the rule works is that because of how these funds are federally managed, the MPO has to hold the contract. So if this is approved by policy committee at the next meeting, the MPO will release the procurement and hold the contract. Invoices and everything is coordinated through the MPO. The vendor is selected by the LPA and those invoices are ultimately approved by the LPA. It's just that we will hold the contract, assuming this is approved at policy, and you also approve the budget that has this in there. Any questions on this? This is an item that doesn't need.
So cool. Do you remember we had this further down the agenda and you asked if you would just do yours 2 back to back?
Sure.
I just realized that was because we can't vote on this until after we adopt the UWP.
Oh, great.
So thank you for that information.
Yeah.
Once we actually approve the budget, we can come back and vote on this to allocate the, come back to it. Yeah. So I will tell you on Cole's planning studies, we did see an increase in funding starting fiscal year 26, and it is our intention to have that call for planning projects on an annual basis. So, right, we understand that oftentimes it's hard for you guys to, right, plan for projects. There's infrastructure, people want to see stuff built. But when it comes to safety or vulnerable users or corridor studies, that oftentimes like it's hard to allocate for that. So keep this in mind as you budget in future years as hopefully a resource for planning studies. So Sean's going to go over membership dues and then go into the Unified Planning Work Program, and then we'll come back and vote on those 5 projects.
Sure. Hi, I'm Sean Northup. I'm the Deputy Director at the NPO. The combined planning grant at the very top is the amount that we get in federal funds, and that's combined transit planning, 5303, which is about 1/3 of our funding, and then federal highway planning funds, which is about 2/3 of that fund. So $3.8 million is the highest it's ever been. Usually it's in the $2.5 million range, has been for the last 20 years. What changed was we finally got the TL formula fixed at the state level. We'll never miss an opportunity to talk about that. It led to, over time, what will be $1 million increase for Central Indiana. What was happening was that $1 million was being dispersed to the rest of the state as sustaining funds. That formula has been fixed, and we are very happy with how that went statewide, and that has led to a big funding increase. So from that $3.8 million, we'll set aside $95,000 for complete streets and safety projects. So this is in federal statute that we can spend up to 2.5% of our funds of that $3.8 million on 100% funded complete streets and safety projects. So not project funding, planning funding. Right? So that's where that $95,000 goes. Cole mentioned the local planning projects. So even though we have the highest revenue we've ever had, everyone's due to go down this year a little bit, because we're not going to double dip on matching that $500,000 for local planning projects. That'll be pulled out and matched by the individual projects that will be awarded once we vote on that. Once we pull those out, we're matching $3.2 million. And then we have a couple of add-ins that are 100% local. We have a government relations contract that did not use any federal funds. That's $60,000, all local. the Safe Streets for All grants we expect to be executed in the next few months here. We hope everything's kind of moving slowly at the federal level right now. $10,000. So that increased a little bit after we approved the amount last year. Rather than go back and amend last year, we just added it to this year. And then Transportation for America membership to the federal, less lobbying, more. They do advocate though, so we use local funds for that one as well. So our total local match this year is $878,000. Like I said, that's a very slight decrease for everyone across the board. As a reminder, we changed this a couple of years ago where the members that are very, very small. So Lebanon's up there with 4 people in the MPA, Boone County with now 391 after the Zionsville changes. If they're below the cap, we have thresholds. So $500 for a municipality, $2,000 for a county. That's baked in the bylaws, and then $5,000 for CERTA and $10,000 for Indigo. As transit operators who are not paying dues for. So those are the non-pro rata members. Everyone else, we just take the total amount, subtract the pro rata, and then allocate it based on population. A few of you have been asking about what the dues are. We're a little bit later coming to it because we didn't have it ready for the April meeting and didn't meet again until now. So this is typically done April or May. This time we're doing it much later.
Any questions regarding the membership dues for fiscal year 26? We did send this spreadsheet out for budgeting purposes in June. Because we had no amendments and the STIP was not approved or still isn't approved, we did cancel the June meeting. First time, I think, in my tenure that I can recall that we canceled the meeting. This would have been kind of the only more time sensitive item. But we sent it out just as a flag for budgeting purposes. I figured we could tackle it at the August round of the meeting. So any questions there? This is an item for approval. Okay, motion by Renee.
Second.
Second by Sheree. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Sean. On the Unified Planning Work Program.
So the UPWP, not intended to be read here, but this is what's in your packet. It's one of our 3 main documents. So we're required to maintain Metropolitan Transportation Plan, the TIP, Transportation Improvement Program, and the Unified Planning Work Program. Looks suspiciously like a budget, but not quite. It's almost a budget. What it does is it lists all of our revenues and our expenses, particularly federal revenues and expenses. Once we approve it, it guides our work. It's done in 2-year increments. This is year 2. 2026 is year 2 of the current UPWP. It drives our grant amendment with INDOT, funds all of our planning and programming work. It's divided into these 9 sections. 100 through 600 are the ones that are funded by transportation funds. So those $3.8 million of planning and $5,303 that you just matched, and that match roll in and build out what this program actually looks like. Some highlights for 2026 I just wanted to mention: we'll continue our internship program and rebuild our website this coming year. We've selected a vendor and we'll be executing a strategic plan. The last one that we did was adopted in 2018. There have been some changes since 2018, so we will be doing our new strategic plan in 2026. We expect that to be done about this time next year. Household travel survey will wrap up. That's picked up some momentum. It's tough getting people to respond to surveys right now. So that's been the challenge. So we're working through with the vendor. Andy is here and can answer questions about the status of that. It's called Hoosier Travel Counts. I'll see it around. We'll be doing onboard survey with Indigo next year. It's a pretty major project, counting passengers, figuring out origins and destinations of trips, really helpful for calibration and a lot of the work that Indigo does. We'll continue the vehicle counts program through Replica. You can all request vehicle counts for pretty much any corridor in the region. engineering cost review on projects, my tip, maintaining those projects. We will begin the next MTP major update, which is amazing. It feels like we just finished the last one. But that will just begin in earnest next year. Joe T will be the project manager on the next MTP major update. The safety action plan I noted before has been slow to start. It was supposed to have started already this year. The federal government has not executed that one, but we anticipate it is going to happen. We were told by Federal Highway that it will happen. We're just waiting for them to say go on that one. It would definitely leak into 2026 at this point. The active transportation plan will happen. This is pedestrian, bicycle, and transit. Again, Joe T will be the project manager on that one. We will update the MPO My Board Community Preference Survey. This is a long-running survey. It goes all the way back to, I believe, 2014. This will be the 4th iteration of it. We love partnering with those guys and look forward to doing it again next year. Hope to have results by the end of the second quarter, and then spend the summer and the fall kind of presenting what findings, what changes we've seen in those. Our first transit after study, our first BRT after study, will be the red line after study next year. We're working on blue line before right now. I believe it might have just finished. Purple line before study is done. The Indigo Eastside Mobility Hub was listed in the 2025 program. It'll carry over to 26 as that work begins. And then the local planning projects that Cole mentioned are under 600H. And we have a little bit more work that we're doing with the RDA on the EPA grant. So Annie is the project manager on that one and continues to do outreach around the region. That work. So a busier planning year, definitely in 2026. But lots of good projects. We also this year have completed our roadmap, which is a modeling an analytics plan. It kind of lays out where we're going to spend money to build out our models and our data purchases for the next few years. It's been really nice to have that. It gives us a lot of clarity on what best practices are, where we need to kind of reinforce. And so that plan is about wrapped up at this point. We're excited to have that done. Totally informed the work program.
Any questions about the 2026? Wow, 2026 Unified Planning Work Program.
One question.
Yeah.
For the SS4A action plan, are the dues for that included in our yearly dues?
Yeah.
So we collected some money in fiscal year 25. We ended up actually submitting a slightly higher application. So we are collecting about 10,000 in fiscal year 26 in the local due.
But 110,000 in 25 and then 10,000 in 2026.
That's already baked in that
Correct.
year.
Yeah. Good question. This is an item for approval. Renee, thank you. Okay, I have a motion by Renee, a second by Will Height. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, likewise. Motion carries. I would like to go back to agenda item number 5, the local planning grant call, just so we can get all the motions out of the way before we get into what I'm gonna call status updates. Cole, correct me if I'm wrong, the 5 projects we're recommending are from Speedway, McCordsville, Whitestown, Indianapolis, and Hamilton County. Those correct? Correct. Yeah. Okay. Does anybody have questions on those projects? I think we have representatives from all those jurisdictions here.
Did you have other applications?
We received one additional application that we did not have funding for. That was application number 2 from Speedway.
I'm just curious how many applications.
Yeah. Yeah, just one outside of the fundable amount. I hope as we continue to do this, that rate will start to see more demand. There's an item for approval.
Second.
I have a motion by John Ayers. John, were you the first? Oh. Sorry. Mark St. John. And then second by Ryan Crum. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, likewise. Motion carries. Okay, we're going to talk about the 2025 annual safety report. Andrea?
All right, good morning, everyone. So I'm here to talk a little bit about the 2025 annual safety report. There we go. So as you may recall, the annual safety report, in addition to providing transparency on what's occurring with serious and fatal crashes in our region, it also fulfills the tracking requirement for the safety action plan, which requires us to just keep on top of our Vision Zero goal of reducing serious and fatal crashes by 35% by the year 2040. There have been some important changes from previous annual safety reports, and so I really want to highlight these to make you all aware. The first is, and probably the most important in my opinion, is a data definition update for serious crashes. So in previous annual safety reports, we used incapacitating crashes from the ARIES reporting system, so the statewide reporting system. And this has officially changed. As of 2023, all jurisdictions are now using ARIES 6, and we are changed to the suspected serious injury definition in ARIES. So SSI numbers, suspected serious injury numbers prior to 2023 do have some margin of error as different jurisdictions were slowly transitioning to that definition. So that is to say, you would have some cities or towns still using incapacitating crashes while others had transitioned to this new definition. And because of that, now that all jurisdictions have switched to this new definition, when you look at the before and after, especially for serious crashes, you will see like a big difference in the number of crashes reported compared to other annual safety reports. But the other item that's also important to note is that we are using our updated MPA boundaries. So in addition to changes to serious crashes, you will also see changes to the fatal crash numbers because our MPO boundary has changed. So just to provide an example, so in our previous annual safety report from 2024, we were seeing declines in both serious and fatal crashes, and it had us meeting our Vision Zero goal, which is a 1.75% decrease annually. With these updated data definitions, as of our 2025 annual safety report, we are not, and we are actually seeing a rise in the combined serious and fatal crashes. But let's dive a little bit more into these numbers. So substantial increases in crashes did occur in 2020 and 2021. So this was for both serious and fatal. And this was actually true of our previous annual safety reports as well. So that part has not changed. But then in 2022, as of this new definition change, we saw declines in both fatal and serious crashes. But then in 2023 and 2024, serious crashes rose again while fatal crashes stayed even or declined. And the net effect of rising serious injury crashes means that the overall rates increase even as fatal crashes decline. So the good news is that we are seeing a fall in those fatal crashes, but of course more work needs to be done when it comes to serious crashes as well. And I do just want to highlight, because I think it's very easy to get stuck in the abstract of these percentage rises and, you know, these numbers, but there are real people being affected by these crashes. So in 2024, last year alone, 914 people were injured in a serious crash. Some of these can have lifelong effects, can be seriously debilitating, and 126 people were killed. And over the 7-year period from 2018 to 2024, 5,506 people were seriously injured and 945 people were killed. So that's just under 1,000 people died in our planning area. A little bit more information about travel mode when it comes to these crashes. So when you combine fatal and serious crashes, 83% involve vehicles, 14% involve pedestrians, and 3% involve bicyclists. But when you filter to look at fatal crashes alone, you'll see that the rate of pedestrians almost doubles. So it's 67% for vehicles, 29% for pedestrians, and 4% for bicyclists. I don't think this is particularly surprising information, but it's worth reinforcing and just remembering the enhanced vulnerability of those outside of a vehicle. And we do have our updated primary crash factors. So these are the main contributing factors identified in the ARIES system to these different crashes. 4 out of the 5 are the same for fatal crashes and for serious injury and fatal crashes combined. And those are intersections, lane departures, speeding, and unrestrained occupants. So those without a seatbelt. And then for fatal crashes alone, unsurprisingly, pedestrian is the 5th factor. And when it comes to combined serious injury and fatal crashes, older drivers is the 5th factor. So that really concludes my high-level overview for the annual safety report. You can find the full report in your packets. You can also find it online on our website. The number one thing I really want you to just kind of keep in mind is that data definition change, which has had a pretty serious effect on us meeting our Vision Zero goal. But on a silver lining note, we can see that fatal crashes are declining. So that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions if anyone has any.
All right. Thank you, Andrea.
Yeah.
Annie, with the Human Coordinated Services Plan or the Coordinated Plan in short. We anticipate bringing this plan in the October set of meetings for approval. Is that correct, Annie?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. Just want to give you all an update on the coordinated plan. It has a really long name, so we're just referencing it as the coordinated plan. Like Anna mentioned, we will be seeking approval from policy and tech in the October meeting. So wanted to give you an update since you haven't seen one since about April. Quick background, we covered this in the intro slides at that meeting, but this plan is specifically linked to Section 5310 funding, which is funding for transportation for people with disabilities and seniors. Indigo is a designated recipient of those funds for the region. The last update was in 2021, and so I've got goals to share with you today that come from both kind of stakeholder conversations, human services and transportation providers in the region, as well as public servants. Here's just a quick timeline of where we started. The project kicked off in April. In May, we had a stakeholder meeting as well as gathering surveys from riders specifically that are using these services. In July, we had a second stakeholder meeting to discuss those results. And we also had some public engagement open houses around the region. In August, we're here to present to you all and give you a sneak peek of these draft goals. As we move into report writing in September, we will have a public comment period. I have a slide on that as well. And then October, we'll be seeking your approval. Quick description of survey results here. This is a map of zip codes of where we receive responses. Pretty good regional spread, except for we were missing a few surveys. Hancock County, we rely on our providers to help us assist in getting this survey out. General feedback, many riders are using these services for trips to work, medical or dental visits, social recreation, shopping, religious services, and day service programs. So a lot of the things that everyone also uses transportation for, they're using public transportation or human services. Some kind of salient points that came out of the survey in terms of what riders were desiring for changes to the systems include services on weekends, more reliable pickup and drop-off times, more service hours, and cross-county travel. Just want to make a note that we had over 200 survey responses, which is roughly double what we had in 2021. I want to show you the draft goals that came both out of the survey as well as our stakeholder committee meetings. These are broken into kind of overarching goals and then sub goals. Got 2 slides on these. The top one is related to maintaining and improving existing services. So this is related to things like increasing those days and hours of services, expanding capacity within existing hours of services, reducing travel times on these services, improving accessibility, etc. The second one is coordinating programs and services. This is the coordinated plan after all, and part of this goal is to help better coordinate between different providers that are providing transportation. So these goals include providing regional travel training so that the public is aware of what services they are eligible for, adopting a consistent region-wide fare structure, piloting trip coordination, etc. This is the second slide of goals. So we've got 2 more overarching ones. The first is complementing public transportation. Of course, there are public providers, but there's also human services providers that are providing service to help kind of fill some of those gaps. So goals under this one include increasing access to out-of-county destinations, supporting trips that are not served by public transportation. This could look something like a voucher program or expanding the existing one. And then the last goal here is educating decision makers. So this includes conducting education and outreach to demonstrate the need for transportation funding, as well as increasing the number of seniors and people with disabilities on kind of decision-making bodies throughout the region. Last slide here. Here are next steps for us. We will be working on a draft report this month and next. We will have a public comment period, September 22nd through October 3rd. We will have virtual pre-hearing meetings. This is a somewhat new addition to IMPO procedures to offer public comment periods that are not just at the adoption date, but also for individuals who provide comment virtually beforehand. So those will be October 13th, 14th. And then, as mentioned before, we will be seeking your approval at the October Technical and Policy Committee meetings. Any questions I can answer? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Annie. This is another item we anticipate bringing before you in October for approval. We'll be going out soon for public comment as well. And we are updating our public involvement plan, and we have Danielle up to speak about the changes we're making to that.
Good morning. I'm Danielle Fry. I'm the engagement specialist at the IMPO. I am talking today about our public involvement plan. Just as a reminder, because it probably hasn't been brought up in a couple of years, our public involvement plan is the document that is required for us to outline the minimum requirements we're going to take to involve the public. It specifically mentions our core documents like the public involvement plan, the TIP, and the MTP. To go through this process, we convened a group of for our steering committee made up from these organizations listed here to represent those groups. We've met 2 times. Our last meeting is this week. We have also consulted with members of the public and the IMPO requiring a focus group called SERVE. Major updates to the public involvement plan include posting pre-hearings, which Annie kind of mentioned. This was a recommendation that came out of that focus group served to make our public hearings a little more accessible. We're offering these virtual pre-hearings to allow time for people to ask questions to a person rather than just submitting comments in writing. This way, if they're not able to come to those policy meetings where our public hearings are held, they have an opportunity to speak with a person from IMPO about the topics before they go to the public hearing. We are also trying to make items that are up for approval a little more accessible and easier to find on our website. So we are posting all of this information about the pre-hearings, what's going for approval on the Get Involved page. We've also created a comment form for public hearings. So if someone wants to submit a comment to be read at a public hearing, all of that can now be found on the Get Involved page. I think up there goes. Sorry. Another thing that we are adjusting is we are aligning comment periods for the MTP and TIP amendments so that they will both be 10 days. Currently, the MTP has a 14-day comment period for amendments and the TIP a 10-day comment period. This allows us to kind of coincide those a little more since they often go together. We are updating the data for the language access plan with current information. And we're removing the Indianapolis Recorder as a paper of record and only naming Indy Star as paper of record. And that's really just because the Indianapolis Recorder publication dates sometimes don't allow us enough time to have all the information we need before we send out the public notice. So we will likely still continue using the recorder as much as we can when we're able to put out the notice that far in advance. The item that I'm most excited about in updating the PIP is creating an engagement toolkit to help plan engagement activities. So this is not necessarily part of the PIP, but more of a companion piece, and I'll go into that a little bit more. We also updated the program of project statement. Sorry, I always forget what the POP means. And this is mostly because the statement previously implied that Indigo and CERTA needed to follow our PIP, and they have their own processes now that are written and approved. So we worked with them as well as FHWA to update this statement to reflect that as well. And the engagement toolkit, which I mentioned. So this will be a separate document that will be kind of a working document that we can add things to as we need to. And it's going to list options and techniques and tools for how we can engage the public, such as open houses, tabling at events. And each technique will list out the time investment for staff in preparation, cost of materials needed, when this type of engagement works best, what kind of audience it works best for. It will also have checklists for accessibility to make sure meeting locations are accessible as well as documents. Preparing for engagement checklists as well to help with pre-planning and help you decide what type of engagement activity will be best for this. So next steps, IMPO staff just finished reviewing the draft document. It is now with the steering committee to review. We are meeting this week to make any final adjustments before it goes out for public review and comment. It's a 45-day comment period, August 22nd through October 6th. We will have virtual public meetings and pre-hearings, as well as going for adoption in October. Any questions?
Thank you, Danielle. So just a reminder, I feel like, and it's been a hot minute since I've looked at the document. For those of you that don't know, the MPO gets certified once every 4 years. We will go through that certification process. If fiscal year, calendar year 26. One of the recommendations previously in our last certification was around public hearings and making them more accessible. So not only have we heard from the CERF committee, but we're trying to give more opportunities for public comment, realizing that our public hearings are at 9 o'clock in the middle of the day for those that, don't want to take their vacation time or, have limited to come out and talk. So we're trying to just increase those opportunities. Any other questions regarding the PIP? We hope to bring this before the board for adoption in the October set of meeting. Otherwise, we are going out for public comments. Okay. Just a few other announcements. We've talked about there, just at the bottom of the agenda, there's a lot of dates, right? We are going to open the call for projects for infrastructure on October 6th. If you're not thinking through what you want to submit, I highly encourage you to be doing that and, getting together your cost estimates and your calculations, your safety. We do have the CMAQ tool training that is in 2 weeks. So just a reminder, we will send out an email with all the dates on the CMAQ training toolkit, as well as the APA, NDOT, Title VI training, and our ProWAG training. Also, I could use your help. We are spending a lot of money on the household travel survey this year, trying to understand beyond just the counts, people's travel movements. It is a survey, it's a random generated survey. So residents in central Indiana are getting postcards asking for them to essentially diary or journal, download an app about their movements to help us. We are incentivizing them with gift cards. As all surveys, we're seeing a low response rate. Actually, the IBJ just picked it up this week. We are having the survey, so if you get a card, please take it. We're just looking for additional, if you can share our social media posts on it about those cards are going to go out, and actually households should begin receiving them on the 11th. So next week, we're doing another push now that kids are back into school. So I am missing my first ever policy meeting. So in 2 weeks, I'm moving my child to the University of Nebraska. That's non-negotiable. I can't get out of that. So I will not be here, but Sean will be, along with Mayor Barnett, will be leading the meeting in 2 weeks.
The JV team.
Yeah, Mayor Barnett called himself the JV team, but the JV team is being moved up to varsity. So, but I am meeting him at the end of next week to walk through the agenda and prep him, and Sean can take step in without any issue. So just an FYI, when you don't see me here, that is what I'm doing. It's my only child. Nebraska's really far away. So please think about me. Yeah. So any other questions or staff announcements? Oh, Jen? I mentioned that at the beginning. Just a reminder, double check your membership list. If you see anything outdated, Jen K can help you get that updated to be added, or most of the time the proxy is where we're finding difficulties. So I need a motion and a second to adjourn. I have a motion by Ryan Wilhite and a second by
Second.
Great. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, likewise. Motion carries. Thank you.